Maybe you've heard the theory that it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master a skill. Not sure if that's true, but if it is, I've definitely mastered the skill of watching movies and TV shows. Now, I'm not a math guy, but I'm pretty sure I've amassed a lot more than 10,000 hours of viewing time in my nearly 5 decades of existence. So, true or not, skill or not, I've watched a lot of stuff. Over the past decade, I've been keeping a list of everything I've watched, and I always wanted to do something with it, and I guess now you're watching that something. Anyways, they're only going to be about stuff I like, stuff I'd recommend that you watch, and I'm going to limit each episode, I guess, to 3 movies or shows or a combination of both, and I'll try to find some kind of theme that ties them all together. You're welcome. First up is Yellowjackets, a series that originally premiered in the US in November of 2021 and recently concluded its 3rd season. All 3 seasons are currently streaming on Paramount Plus with Showtime, and Season 1 is also available on Netflix. It was created by Ashley Lyle and Bart Nickerson and features an extensive cast led by Melanie Lynskey and Christina Ricci. The premise of this series is 25 years after surviving a plane crash, members of a New Jersey girls soccer team are still dealing with the effects of what they had to do to survive 19 months in the Canadian wilderness. This one is really dark and twisted, which is right up my alley. It's essentially a hybrid mashup of Lord of the Flies and Alive told through a female perspective. It has a massive cast that is spread out over dual timelines. So the Alive Lord of the Flies hybrid takes place in the 90s. That's like what I guess you'd call the flashback timeline. And then the current setting is the really nice take I like here. In both of those, in Lord of the Flies and Alive, you may have wondered, okay, how is this going to impact these young people later in life? And that's what the current setting in Yellowjackets does here. It goes into that past at time of plane crash and surviving in the wilderness. It definitely deals with that and does so well. And I like the way it's paced, where you don't know everything that happened right away. We're still finding out as the seasons go along. You get that in little chunks. But I really like that they also added the current setting decades later to see how something so traumatic would have impacted these survivors. And oh boy, did it. Like I said, the cast here is phenomenal, and it's massive because you have, so many people involved in the past, the crash storyline, and then, those who actually make it out. You get to see what unfolds in their adult lives. I had mentioned earlier that there is also an amazing opening credit sequence in one of the creepiest show theme songs, I think, in memory. With this show. Also has a really good 90s soundtrack. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you know anything about Alive, yes, there is cannibalism in this show. So be prepared. If that is not up your alley, not saying that cannibalism is up my alley at all, but just be forewarned. When I said dark and twisted, yeah, it's very dark and twisted. But if that suits you, I highly, highly recommend this show. Next up is The Last of Us, a series that originally premiered in the US in January of 2023 and recently concluded its 2nd season. Both seasons are currently available to stream on HBO Max. It was created by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin and features an ever-evolving cast led by Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. The premise of this series is Decades after a fungal outbreak has destroyed civilization, turning millions into zombie-like creatures, one survivor becomes the caretaker for a teenage girl that may hold the key to salvation. I think this one, for my money, is one of the best shows out there right now. To start off with, it's an HBO show, which I think many of you will agree has almost can't miss track record when it comes to series. This is no different. And as far as like zombie style apocalypse, that, to an extent is kind of played out, but I like the take here, using a mushroom-like fungal way to spread it. I really like that take, and especially when this show first premiered, it was still really fresh, or like right after the pandemic, and just kind of the way that it evolves, the virus in the show, which I originally is from the video game. It was very, very fresh and relevant at the time. Not that it's not now, but it was probably not even a full year after the COVID pandemic. So it definitely hit me. I know when the show first premiered. The cast is just so phenomenal. I really think it did a lot for making Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal, definitely Pedro, into the stars that they have become. And because it's a apocalyptic show, you're gonna expect cast turnover. No spoilers, and there is a lot of revolving, changing cast, lots of guest stars, fantastic guest spots, award-winning guest spots. Really, really good show. Another great opening credit sequence, another show that really uses music well. If this is something that you haven't seen, you probably have heard of it. Maybe you're like, I don't know, the zombie genre is kind of beat. Check it out. Really, really check it out. This is worth your time. For my money, again, one of the best series out there. Finally, we have Mobland, a series that just premiered at the end of March, and all 10 episodes of its first season are currently streaming on Paramount+. It was created by Ronan Bennett and features a star-studded cast led by Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, and Paddy Considine. The premise of this series is a war between two British crime families has one family's fixer stuck in the middle of all of it. This one's a lot of fun, kind of like a current take on that timeless tale of warring kingdoms with all the maneuvers and the betrayals and the secrets, things of that nature. To me, it feels a lot like a current set Peaky Blinders. Even a little bit of Sons of Anarchy, and I'll get to that in a second. If you've seen the trailer for this, I think it does a couple of disservices, kind of almost like a lies to you a little bit. It's very much portrayed as a Guy Ritchie show. Now, he is an executive producer, and he does direct the first 2 episodes, but the showrunner here is actually Ronan Bennett. The other thing that I think is kind of a falsehood in the trailer is it's narrated by Pierce Brosnan, and it gives the effect, I think, that he's the main character, and he absolutely is not. While he is one of the featured characters, one of the stars of the show, this is absolutely Tom Hardy's show. To me, Tom Hardy was the selling point of this show, and his character, Harry D'Souza, this entire series revolves around him, and he's just so freaking cool in this show. He really is. I think he's one of the coolest actors working today, and that's never been more on display than it is in this show. Just like the other two shows that I'm going to talk about in this video, this series also features a great opening credit sequence with a really cool title song. This one is by Fontaine's DC. Back to Brosnan for a second. Both he and Helen Mirren are fantastic in this show. Their characters are both absolutely despicable, and they're so much fun to watch just be horrible. Going back to Sons and to Peaky Blinders, I'm reminded of both of those shows when I watch Mobland, because of the fact that even though we're talking about two crime families at war here, the emphasis is really only on the perspective of one family. Yeah, you do spend time with the competitors, so to speak, but much like in Peaky Blinders and in Sons, you see it through the lens of the of one family, one group, and you also got the cool factor. I mentioned Hardy earlier. You got Tommy Shelby, Cillian Murphy in Peaky Blinders, and you got Charlie Hunnam as Jax Teller and Sons. Cool characters. If you're a fan of either of those shows, I definitely think you'll like this one. So I highly recommend Mobland. You might have noticed these little scene doodles at the beginning of each recommendation. This is part of my scripting process for these videos, and I thought, well, they're not terrible, and they'll probably really help when it comes to avoiding a copyright strike, so let's throw them in all the videos. Plus, when I made enough of them, it'll be a cool little piece of physical media to have, and maybe even share with folks in the future. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Later.